I love acupuncture.
Me too. Me too. I have to say that hearing people's feedback from the session, like just the last group session that we did for sonic acupuncture, has really blown my mind at how people were receiving what they needed, and people, really helping them with their pain levels. Of course, it's going to do so much more than that, but that's one that we can easily track and see most directly. And one of the things that from working with me is that's where, if you're in pain, I want to be able to help you see that we can get the pain levels down, because it's harder to track, I think, emotional states. Maybe you feel more relaxed that day, but pain, we can get that down, pretty easily. So Sarah, we want to just kind of give a little bit of background on how we met and where you were at that time in your life, perhaps.
Sure. I don't know how many years ago it was because I'm really bad with time. More than 10 years, maybe 12 or 14 by now. But at that time, I was experiencing some pretty serious health conditions and had been diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and was in the middle of trying to figure that out with medications. I ended up having surgery. And so I don't remember who, I think I got referred to you by someone, I don't remember who, but we started doing treatments even before I had surgery, and then also continued treatments afterwards to help with the healing and help the scars, heal nicely, and, get everything flowing again. And that was just such a wonderful, positive experience. And then I just kind of kept up with the treatments after that because it was so beneficial for anything and everything that was happening in my life. And one thing that I really learned, I think, going through this process is that our body and our emotional state are not separate. Like when there's something that's hurting or something's going wrong, there's other underlying causes that need to be addressed. And I think that's where obviously I found the healing was addressing everything at once in a holistic way, like emotionally and physically. And that's what brought the real healing.
That's so beautiful. I love how you're able to articulate your experiences so clearly. For me, when I listen to someone who can articulate that for themselves, it really shows that they've embodied that experience fully. And you definitely have a grasp of your own process and your own healing and what it's doing for you. And you see it reflected in your life and in your family and your health and your well-being. And you see it, reflected back to you in other areas as well. We have a lot of fun stories we could talk about around that. You've experienced acupuncture with me in person, and you've also been working with me remotely. So what is the difference for you in that?
I think it is different. I feel like the result is the same, but I feel like it's different because I know when I love being in person with you, because you're there and you've got the sounds, you got the table, it's just it's like going to a spa treatment. It's so relaxing and so beautiful. But this sonic acupuncture is very much the same process, because even when we were there doing the needles, you were still talking about underlying stories or patterns, or you'd ask about what happened to you when you were this age or whatever. And I had no idea that whatever that tanglement was contributing to this physical condition, right? So that's the similarity, I think, is that you're able to track the emotional and then see where it's showing up in the physical. And that's exactly the same. So whether it's sonic or whether it's needles, the healing is still the same.
I feel like, you learn to pay attention to yourself and your body in a different way, right?
Yeah, totally. I've had to learn how to trust myself more, right? Because even though I was completely trusting you and, my body that could heal, now I'm just by myself in a room with you on the screen, and I have to listen and feel and, follow that energy, and I can feel it, where you're directing me to look at or think about or remember or, breathe. And it's just, yeah, I've had to learn how to trust myself, and it's been pretty cool. It's been a good experience.
I love that. I love that it's more empowering for you now. So recently, you and I had a session together, and we did a sonic acupuncture because you're over there on one coast and I'm over here on the other coast now. And would you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my shoulder has been really hurting me since January, or even the end of December. So almost 3 months of just really intense pain. kind of like felt like a band was kind of wrapped around my arm right here. And it was causing pinching pain, and then also was causing numbness all the way down my arm into my hand. And so we worked on those issues. And it was, again, you're looking at the story, like what's going on, what's blocked, what do we need to fix? And we talked about some of my past history, some things that are going on in my personal life, and just kind of helping to untangle those things and let go so that things can start to flow. Because sometimes I find when I'm stressed, I hold on to all my problems even tighter instead of trying to figure out how to let it go.
Yeah, it is. It's really about, kind of bringing those stories to light, I think sometimes, because when we bring it to conscious awareness, then I think it's easier to be released. And even if it's the same story, we're not in the same pattern of that story, where it's another aspect of that story, another place where we can love ourselves more, another place, where we can connect with that wound, which usually doesn't start 3 months ago. It starts somewhere else in our life experience or multidimensional life experience, right? We'll go wherever that inception point is and that root of it is for you.
Well, and you were talking about how the channels are connected, right? So that channel in the shoulder is related to my surgery I had in my lower right abdomen. And I don't know that kind of stuff, but you do. So it's so helpful to have someone from the outside point out, hey, what about this right here? Is this what it is? And yes, that's totally what it is. It's super helpful to have a guide like that.
So just to give people an understanding and calibrating your pain levels of that shoulder pain when we started, where would you have put that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst?
Mm-hmm. So just sitting still, not doing anything with that arm, it was probably a 5 or a 6, just always dull, icky, awful pain that you can't really ignore, like to the level of distraction. But then certain movements would trigger those pinchy, flaring pains that definitely went up to like a 9 or a 10, like enough to make you grab your shoulder and stop whatever you're doing and say, ow, right? So that's where we started at the session.
Yeah. And so where are you now?
So I would say all of that numbness and the aching and stuff is just pretty much gone, which is amazing. Like just me sitting here, it just feels like a normal arm. It's not bothering me. There's still some soreness in certain movements and things like that. I think things are still working themselves out, and I'm going to do, some more stuff on my end, but it's pretty amazing. So going from like a 9 or a 10 to like maybe when it does pinch, it still hurts, but it doesn't last and it doesn't make the numbness and it's not distracting like it was.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm always amazed when I'm never not surprised when I hear people's experiences, of these sessions and the way that it works. And sound is, I love sound. It's so powerful and yet so gentle at the same time. And one of the things I love about it is that it continues to move through you after we're done. Same with the needles. I find the needles, there's different kind of timelines in the way that they last. I feel like the sound reverberates through you, well, infinitely really, but probably noticeably for about 7 to 10 days. And I feel the needles, depending on what you're coming in with, about 4, I usually hear from people like 3 to 4 days, and then they want to come back in again. So I feel like the sound can transform those patterns over longer periods of time before needing to come in again and address it at that next level.
There's also one thing I was thinking of, which may be a little bit silly, but some people are scared of needles. And some people don't do acupuncture because they're like, I don't want, but even though it doesn't hurt at all. But hey, this is still sonic acupuncture, it's still acupuncture, it's still the same process of making your tea flow the way it should. And you don't, but without needles, which is a plus for some people, right?
And you bring up a great point, because I did have a lot of needle phobic clients who would still come in because the benefits really were outweighed their fears. And then once the needles were in, of course, they felt relaxed and at ease. But, I work with a lot of families and children. And so we had to work with them in other ways. And the beauty of this, your animals, your loved ones, your fur babies can also benefit from the remote sonic acupuncture sessions as well. I have a client who, sees me periodically with her infant, and it's so much fun to have her, listen to the sounds and see her response. So you bring up a really, really good point. Thank you for that. Because you worked with me for many years, and we've kind of grown up together in this way, and the work has evolved, and we both evolved, in our own lives. How would you compare working with me one-on-one versus working in a group setting?
The group setting has been also really strengthening in a very good way, because everybody in the group comes from such different backgrounds and has such different struggles. But the more often I see the same answer applies to everyone, it just kind of, it's really validating, right? Because I see the human experience, I see the suffering, but then I see the relief that comes from, working together and trying to like love ourselves and harmonize all these things. It's been very, very strengthening and validating.
There's what's the word I want? Oh, a constellation of souls that come together for any group work, and everybody holds a different fractal or a different aspect of the healing that we're all there to find. And I feel like it amplifies that process and accelerates that. When we work one-on-one, it's fun, and because we can kind of go into the stories and unravel that together. But in a group, I feel like we can get there so much quicker. Because
there's something about being vulnerable with other people that it's like an infection, right? Sometimes you can't heal it unless you cut it open and let it drain. And I feel like being with other people and sharing and being vulnerable with other people is such a strong, method of healing that's very different from being one-on-one. Of course, we're still vulnerable with each other one-on-one, and that's, I value that a lot, because there's certain things, of course, I don't want to share with everyone. But the things we can share, and we strengthen each other with our love and our acceptance of each other's faults or whatever weaknesses, it's so healing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, that place where we can connect, really connect with another, opens us up even more and creates more flow of our own vitality and life force as well. So there's another aspect of that, generative fortifying power that happens when we come together in groups.
Well, because we're all connected, and I think that that's something we forget so easily and in the day-to-day, that we really are connected to each other.
Yeah, it's so true. And the more that I'm working in the group format, which I've been doing now for a few, actually longer than a few years when I think back, but more consistently the last few years, is I really see that we are all, like, there's an agreement on a soul level for us to be there together to work on whatever it is that the group is there to work on, not only for the individuals in that group, but whatever is needing to be shifted in the world around us. So we really kind of come together to do our individual work and global work as well. And I love that holographic, microcosmic, macrocosmic power that it has. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, because it leads into that, is the replays, like the recordings and the power of the recordings, because the contract for us to be there doesn't mean that we need to be there live and in person. It means whenever and wherever in space and time you are, and you decide to watch a recording and watch a session, you are a part of that agreement, and that session is relevant for you. And I've heard amazing stories from people over the years who've benefited from the replay alone. So what's your experience of that? Because you've really experienced all shades of work.
Yeah, I did. Like, for instance, the sonic acupuncture session you did, I didn't get to watch it live. I was on a plane. So I had to watch the replay, and it was great, and I could feel the healing starting already in my shoulder, and it was just, perfected when we had our individual session. But yeah, and also I'm a part of the accelerated alchemy groups, and we do 2 sessions a week, and only one of those sessions I can usually watch live, and the other one I watch in replay. And it's like you said earlier, you're always surprised at the miracle. But the sessions are the same thing. Like, watching, and you'll stop and you'll ask for feedback, and my answers are the same as what was given in the recording, because we're all being led together in such a unified way towards, these goals, that for sure the replays are very effective.
what's been your maybe like biggest takeaway, or what is one of the things that you love most about the work for yourself? What have you gotten out of it for yourself?
Mm,
Big question, I know, but
yeah, that's a big question. Of course, I feel like in 100% will tell anyone that this saved my life, like
mm,
physically, because you saw how sick I was, and Western medicine just did not have a good solution for me. My body did not respond well to the medications they wanted me to take. So on that level, that was completely life-saving, physically. But then I've also been through some pretty icky, emotional things. And that, I think the takeaway from that is the fact that like I can heal from those things too. And that is pretty cool, because that's not something the world believes in either. They don't believe in physical healing, I feel like sometimes, and they also don't believe in emotional healing, or not as complete or something like that. I was able to find like hope again, trust again, those types of things that are really hard to find if you're just looking to what the world says about those sort of experiences.
oh, thank you. That's, I don't have anything to say to that. That's just so beautiful. Oh, Sarah, I'd give you a hug if you were here, and I'd be crying with you. Um, that's so beautiful. Thank you. And I honestly, I don't feel like it's me that does it. I really feel like it's the work that comes through me, and I'm just really the conduit for this, and to be able to give you back yourself, and that to see you come back to yourself. I'm not doing it, but to see you come back to yourself as a result of whatever this is that comes through me, is really keeps me it's inspiring, and keeps me doing what I do. That's my purpose, and so just to see you just makes me want to go even more. you know it just
And it's really cool, because you don't realize how far away from your true self that you really get sometimes. You get stuck in these stories, you get stuck in the patterns, you get stuck in the expectations that come from so many sources that aren't who you really are, and aren't the ways that are going to actually be the best for you to live. And so this type of work, I feel like it brings you back to that path, the good path that's going to lead you to what you need to do and what you need to be to find the most harmony, fulfillment. I'm not saying it's like a panacea, right? I mean, there's still struggles, there's still like hard things, but it gives you a really awesome foundation and a place of strength to stand on.
It's beautiful. And I also wanted to just say that we're not here to discount any medical approaches, because, as
No.
you know, that's something I actually encourage you to do, because there is a place for that. But this is a really beautiful complement to whatever you're doing in your life, and to
Well,
support.
absolutely. And I always look for every type of healing, right? I mean, I had surgery, I've done all sorts of things, but this is definitely in conjunction with all that. It's amazing.
It it keeps you harmonized and
Yeah, the
balanced.
harmony word you use a lot, I think it's a very good word. It's a very good word. Because I know there are some people who respond really well to medications, and it gives
Mhm.
them great relief and helps them heal and everything, but I'm just not that way. So I'm so grateful there's other approaches to healing that are better for me, more gentle.
You said so
Oh.
many beautiful things. I feel like there's one more thing, like nugget, to be pulled out of the ethers here. Um,
Well, there's just one thing you said that kind of triggered a thought. This complements whatever you're doing. And I 100% believe that. Because at the time I started working with you with the Accelerated Alchemy group, I was still doing counseling and therapy, like, more traditional. And I could see, I mean, every week she would say something and you would say the same thing. And I think this is all truth for me, right? That I need at this time. And so I feel like the work I do with you, it doesn't replace my religion. It doesn't conflict with religion in any way, because it's just, it is what it is. And I really love that. And I don't think I would be continuing on with this if I felt like it was trying to take away from the things I wanted to do or the things I believed in. It's just a compliment and a strength and clarification, perhaps, of your chosen path is another way to say it. So,
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. You say it so much better than I can.
no, I don't think so.
I do, because I feel like, for me, I'm like, I'm the guide. I'm not receiving the experience of it like you have. So I just, from my perspective, it's so different from yours. It's more of what I see is how, you show up for yourself. I see how you're committed to yourself, you're committed to your family, you're committed to your children, and everything you're doing is out of love. And that's really the healing part. And we get to come together and connect with that space. And that's where the healing occurs. And so that again kind of comes back to the power of coming together with others. It amplifies that heart energy, which is its own, healer in itself. And it does the work for us. It's just coming back to those places. And
it's actually been really cool to see that, like you said, the healing energy ripple out through my own family.
mm-hmm.
And 2 friends, I've been able to share you with a couple friends, and they've also had really good experiences too. So that's been really neat. And you don't think of that as something that's going to happen when you get better for yourself. You don't think of it as helping everyone else get better, but that's exactly what's happened for me. So.
I think that's one of the biggest evolutions in this work is, that's always been my mission, to harmonize the nature of oneself. So, every time I was working with people in my office one-on-one, that was always very present with me from day one. But now it's rippling out in bigger ways when we're coming together like we are through the group, and then through Double the Love Foundation. It's supporting other people in their health and well-being as well, because you show up for yourself, but it also allows someone else to show up that might not be able to afford it. So it's just like this, win-win-win, and this like just so much like this fountain of energy and healing energy and light coming through in that container. It's really beautiful to be a part of, and to witness how everybody is like, what, a rising tide floats all boats. Is there another metaphor we could use? But it's really that, like, you take care of yourself and it allows someone else to take care of themselves at the same time. So you can have a global impact just by taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much power in that. And that could be just in your family, like you said. And that's not minimizing anything. That's enough. Like, that's enough.
Yeah. I'm totally not in charge of the world, thank goodness.
Right.
But I've got my 3 little people, that are like my stewardship, and I definitely am so grateful that kind of ripples out in unexpected ways too, that it's amazing.
It's your world. It's your world that it ripples out into.
Right.
And it's where our worlds intersect that we notice. We,
right.
we send off these sparks of light into other people's reality and health and well-being, and a little bit of magic for everybody.